And recording is now on, and you should have gotten a permission over there on your side that's asking you recording is on. Just hit got it. Okay, so unmute yourself, please. Let's see. Oh, looks like you don't have your audio turned on. Let me see. Mute. Ask to unmute.
Mute. You there?
Talk to me.
You there? Mute. You there?
Okay. Now you should be coming through. Speak.
Man, this shit,
Test.
it's just so
Nothing.
invasive. That actually is. It's just invasive technology.
You can hear me,
and they're lining the
but I can't hear
feed
you.
with yeah, because it's bullshit. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Come back to video. Okay.
Are you there?
Yeah, it was my fault. I had a bad I had an extra speaker attached to the system. I figured it out.
Yeah,
okay.
So do I. It's a Bluetooth.
Okay, so we are recording this interview, and this is in between two soul brothers. This man's my soulmate. He's a brother to me, and he's a true genius. A little bit about my background is that I've been a biomedical equipment repair technician for 25 years. What that means is that I got trained by the military to learn about anatomy, physiology, electronics, and the relationship, the bio connection in between the two. That's what the bio stands for. And so it took me through a lot of things. And what happened was I was paralyzed from the neck down. And I found a way to overcome a lot of those problems. And then I created my own little, system of using resistance band and all kinds of other stuff. And then when I came across this man and he started explaining to me some other things, and it's not a new invention, it's the freaking creation of bringing all those pieces together into something that really, really revolutionizes men's life and the power and the strength that you get. I'm not kidding you. This kind of stuff heals people. That's what I'm talking about. And we get healed because it changes the way you think. And when you think like a freaking champion, you know what happens? You start living like one. And so this kind of stuff that I'm talking about is only for champions, because you're gonna see it's the shit, it's the right technology, but it's freaking tough. You try pulling on these 100-pound resistance band, every freaking muscle in your body has to be elicited to do it. That's the thing. And now we start getting into the science. Now, don't be trying to call this bro science, because it's not bro science. This is research proven. Yes, sir. Am I right or am I right?
Certainly.
Okay. So I came one way in my understanding and in my practice, and my brother came another way, and he has brought the understanding that you take resistance and you take magnetics and you put them together, you start having a correlationship where these frequencies begin to speak one to another, right?
Yes.
What happens is when those frequencies start working with one another, it starts to change the human at the DNA level, at the cellular level. And this stuff, if my brother wants to cover more about the workings, but I want to focus on how this has helped me recover my ability to fight, my ability, and I'm going to even demonstrate it if that's what he wants, because we could talk about some of the evolution, right? Because I got the most rustic system, but he's got the most advanced system. That's the part that I want to bring in comparison one with the other. So I like to show you in the discussion. But first of all, enough of the introduction here. Now, sir, do you have a minute that you want to touch on what I just said?
Yes, just a second, Hector. This man.
Okay. So, you know, I titled it the resistance result, because we are so resistant to something that's new that we have not known yet, and we resist everything, right? You ever heard about truth? That truth is opposed by 80% of the people for more than 80% of the time, and then all of a sudden there's a breakover and everybody starts to believe in the thing that you were saying, and then at the end there's a couple scragglers that don't believe, but everybody's like, yeah man, that's common knowledge. I'm talking about the 4-minute mile. That guy is still alive that did it, and the day that he broke the 4-minute mile, medicine science used to say, you know what, this stuff is not going to work and your heart is going to explode. That's what the science, like, oh, watch out for COVID, blah 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 blah, right? Well, they were saying something like that your heart would explode if you ran a mile in less than 4 minutes. That's what they said back then. That guy is still alive today, and he made it happen. And the same year, now remember, this is back in the 50s. What happened is that everybody in the world felt that frequency, and other people started breaking the mile under 4 minutes all over the world. And that's a fact. You can research it yourself. All right. What do you like to talk about?
There is what background is clinical research with a concentration in oncology and neuroscience.
Thank you, sir.
As my understanding,
what's your scientific background yourself?
With a concentration and a discipline in intermediary studies of resistance applications for rehabilitative therapy and personal training, and more of a clinician's approach to applying resistance training applications.
But now that's thank you. That's really beautiful, and I think that not only are you the man to talk about it, but you have demonstrated it, you've created it, and if you could just tell the audience that piece about how much power you using the system you created. And what was your max bench at one time when you were hitting it and you were doing
600?
Huh?
Well, 600 pounds. During the development of the device that we're speaking of is classified as a medical device, but it's a specialized medical device for resistance band training.
Okay.
Many to one configuration. That means more resistance band being placed on a magnetic medium and anchored by a computer analysis system.
So what we're talking about here is that the results for this man was 600 pounds. Boom. Like this, laying down, if you don't know what a bench press is. With the combination of the things that we're talking about, resistance bands, I have been able to do 1,000 pounds on the squat rack, right? The sleigh rack, and that's a whole lot of weight, and that's without any kind of wrapping my knees around nothing or just. So we're talking about some really serious results here. And we're talking about some very serious science. And we're talking about some very serious metaphysical conversation as well.
Applications, yes, yes.
The application
Yes.
metaphysically is 100%, and that's where I come in, because I'm telling you that the electromagnetism that we're talking about in between the cells is the same thing that happens in an electrical discharge, which is the same thing that happens inside of a battery, which is the same thing that happens when we collect the energy and we practice and we train it, and then we concentrate it, transmute it, and pass it through a medium. I hope you follow what I just said. And that medium becomes resistance, which is creating static electricity, which is also creating a frequency in itself in combination with magnetism. And you got an electrical circuit happening, and you're part of that. This is what the kind of shit, if you want to put it that way, this is not bro science. This is the kind of stuff that somebody's inventions disappeared. We're talking about Tesla. We're talking about the 3, the 6, and the 9 frequencies. This is what we're talking about: magnetism, electricity at a high level. Well, you don't, okay? If you don't believe me, we're talking about the kind of stuff that we have Bluetooth already. All we need to do is activate it. Am I right, sir?
Certainly.
And so what caused you to come to this place and go from just using resistance band to take it to the next level?
Well, as I discovered doing my research of 15 years, that there is some phenomena associated with the resistance band elastic medium itself. As we know it, all resistance bands are made of natural rubber and proprietary Malaysian natural rubber. Now, there are metaphysical phenomena associated with the stretching of rubber that no one has ever codified.
Except?
Because no one has ever, except us. The reason why I feel no one has ever codified the resistance phenomena and has only utilized it as being some form of a rubber band is simply because there is high-end magnetics associated with the stretching and contraction of resistance materials. There's an extension and an expansion of energy there that the human, the medium receptacle of that energy exchange. When you do a repetition with other equipment, such as inert iron machines, they can't give biofeedback. Man needs some form of biofeedback. The majority of the world has sought biofeedback through the medium of video gaming, touching knobs, turning things on and off. Well, those same analogy applications are found within the structure of resistance bands.
And magnetics.
And
or
magnetics.
Just resistance bands.
It's both. It's kind of an exchange. It's kind of like yin and yang, from what I understand. Yin and yang being a balancing of each other. And from my research, I think the complementing component to resistance material inorganically is magnetism.
Say that one more time.
The yin and yang for resistance bands is magnetism, because they commingle on an inert level that we were unable to detect, and resistance materials have its own frequency. And because this is some sort of resistance vision with the complementary augmented application of magnetics, it extenuates the resistance phenomena beyond a simple physical medium to a metaphysical medium, meaning that for the first time in human history, we can associate data with the movement and manipulation of resistance bands.
So to break that down for those of you that are wondering what he just said, is that through the power of resistance bands and the correlation in between these things and the technology of today is devoid of true tactile interaction, where it's just lost in your head, but your body is not connected. And let me gotta tell you that speaks volumes to me, because one time in my life, I was paralyzed from the neck down, and everything from here down was disconnected 100%. You hear what I'm saying? So when this man is talking about this stuff, I'm like, I already been there. And so what I'm saying is society is heading in that direction. And we're saying that what we have here is a system that you can fully attach yourself and now have an interaction. Am I right?
Yes,
That
it's fully interactive, and you're dealing with a full body, interactive, interconnected magnetic system. So you have 5 components to the primary application, where you connect your wrists, your ankles, your waist, and you're not standing on the resistance. It's the most important application to understand, and we need to get by to the audience, is you don't have to physically secure the resistance bands to a stationary object.
So
allows user.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, please. That
allows the user to experience a stands-free experience of resistance training, meaning you can now kick, strike, dance, do the rumba, Zumba, martial arts, MMA, the full gamut in a 360-degree radius from the floor out instead of 180. All conventional current resistance systems utilize framework of a door, being that they need an infrastructure to tie resistance band, attach the component that they should exercise with, and then start to exercise.
Yeah, which is how I do it.
From my understanding, that could defeat the purpose of resistance training, because you should have a 0-degree launch point on the floor. Attach the device, attach the resistance bands to the user, then exercise. So that gives you an enclosed room, so to speak, in order to utilize resistance bands in the middle of the floor in a 360-degree radius, instead of on a door or attached to a fence, or as the professionals do, stand on a vertex, which completely defeats the purpose of resistance training.
Yeah. So you're saying to me that I'm still going to have physical rubber bands attached to me, but the difference is that instead of me hanging it from my door or grabbing it, putting it on the floor, right, and then closing the door on the side, that it'll be pretty much directly under me, and I can move in any direction.
Yeah.
I can do a back kick,
a 360-degree radius.
I can do a crescent kick, right?
Yep.
And I can do a back kick, and either one is not going to be interfered by the system I'm using. And
yes,
Now I can
Certainly.
have that interaction, not only physically, but I can send that electronically to another player on the other side.
Yes, you're receiving your kinematic resistance data in real time. So all of your physiological moves are being recorded in real time and sent to your personal email. Depending on how many attachments you physiologically have attached to your body, which we're classifying as resistance wearables, which relay all of your data to your smart device or whatever medium you have of choice. It will send all that data to a personalized database, and then we can work on your forecast for if you want to get stronger, faster, if you want to cross-platform train, you can now do that via resistance bands. If you want to extend your resistance experience to yoga, martial arts, you can now attach the resistance bands in a way that you can do a martial art application from a resistance magnetic medium. Right now, you can't do a full body martial art application from any resistance product on the market because you cannot kick with the current conventional means of isolating resistance bands.
Yeah, yeah, and the system that I had was pretty close to doing that, but what was lacking is the extra steps of the magnetics, and I experienced some pretty intense growth under a short period of time of the regimen, right? Stuff just, saved my life, man. And frankly, people don't no, I don't want to say that. I'm just saying that this stuff is incredible. It's very real. And you even have a case study, right?
Yes.
And
yes, I feel like I've discovered.
The subject
Go ahead,
was
go ahead.
how old? The oldest subject?
83.
83. Yep.
Yes.
And then, then you had another one who's they were young and they went into sports, right? And how old was he?
Yes, a 16-year-old. He initially came to me when he was 16. He said that he wanted to start varsity. He had never experienced resistance training, was kind of laughed at the fact that I wanted to train him with resistance bands until I showed him the conventional standard of resistance bands are 3, 5, and 10-pound, sometimes 20-pound resistance bands. And you guys know in every public facility nationwide, you'll find the medium, most meaningless form of resistance training in these public facilities. So you only gain access to 3, 5, and 10 pounds. You might get a 20-pound resistance band if you're lucky. And that's what he was accustomed to until I showed him that there is a 30-pound, 40-pound, 50-pound, 60-pound, 70-pound, 80-pound, and 100-pound resistance band that he would be training on from a total body connectivity. He became a local phenomena with the training platform.
So we're talking about two pieces of the spectrum. If you're 16 all the way up to 83, right? 83?
Yes.
Look, and so what I'm saying is what I've discovered on how to keep your body cleaned and detox, because I went the process of learning about the herbs and the cleaning of the organs and the metaphysical way of healing, and all that stuff works. And this stuff works even faster, and they are complementary to each other. They're not against each other. The stuff works in conjunction one with the other. And so
Excuse me.
I'm just telling you that this stuff that we're talking about is a system, a device, but it's also, because it's a system, it's a way of working out. It's a very,
Yes.
very specific way that you got to
It's
use.
completely new
Everybody has a rubber
resistance.
band. What was that? Go ahead.
It's a completely new resistance experience. It's a completely new resistance experience.
100% a new resistance experience, because it's so. Now I'll tell you about this. Okay, you got complementary muscles and antagonist muscles, right? So
yes,
when I open up my arm, these pull and these relax, and vice versa. When I pull it this way, the top two, they start to interact, and this one has to relax. But when you're using resistance bands, you got them both working at the same time as you're pulling and as you're pushing, right? So all muscles don't get a chance to relax, and you haven't never worked out like that. I guarantee you that, right? What is that? Am I talking right?
yes.
What I'm saying is,
yes,
right?
Yes.
That's where you got to get it in your mind, man. It's a totally different approach. And because of that, it has an immense amount of different applications. Because you
So
have
far
to
today,
meditate.
I
Go ahead.
so far to date, I feel that I have 1,000,001 resistance configurations. One device, 1,000,000 configurations. That's the benefit of having a resistance device anchoring CPU, anchored CPU. So if you have an anchored CPU, it scans the infrastructure that you're going to train in, and then it gives you its best guesstimatation of where to place the resistance bands in relation to the anchor and where you should stand, and how you can exercise within a full room versus on a door.
Yeah. So what
the next time we meet, I would like to give a demonstration of how different that is in experience, being that you are physically attached to a floor medium, for instance, as a counterweight, being that the weight shares the load of the user's mass, the mass of resistance bands themselves, and the anchor. They all commingle to give you a otherworldly resistance experience, because you're now wearing and running and exercising in the equivalence of swimming. So you have a full body resistance experience in a room instead of on a door.
Or having to go from machine to machine to machine in a big old room.
Yeah.
You can get it all done here.
Yeah.
And that's
all in one resistance exercise platform. All in one. All exercises one platform.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. For those of you that have never had no idea what that is, look like I have, a thing hanging on my door, and you have to open the door, slip this little donut in, and then you hang that, and then you got to go and crawl your way upside down, put your feet in there to do your feet. Otherwise, you just stand and do it with your hands. But in order to work your feet, then you got to do that, and you got to do like a flip around and push back and have some resistance with your hands, and start pulling with your legs. That's how I do it, okay? When I'm using the system, I have to come up with different ways and doorways and different things in order to use the system. That's a resistance band. But what we're talking about is I no longer have to worry about that situation. It's right there, and I can work around it and get all of those exercises done. That is freaking mind-blowing.
Yeah, next time we meet, I would like to have a head-to-head comparison where you use the conventional method of showing the system of using resistance band, and then I show you our system of magnetic resistance interfacing.
Deal.
So I think that you brought up a very good point. so we can have a head-to-head comparison of
Ooh,
current
wait a second, man.
utilization of resistance bands and how we're going to implement our system. So you show an exercise over there, and then I'm going to show exercise over here, and then we'll go back and forth. So that'll be a good visiographic explanation of how we differentiate our system from the conventional standpoint of resistance training today.
Okay. So we could probably do that real quick here, right? Say when next week or a week from
next week will be good.
You know, we could do it.
It's up to you.
Okay. All right. Let me check my calendar right now, and let's set it so that we can make a sequel to this particular story.
Okay. I think we need to start a resistance podcast.
Yeah. I think people, well, let's see if people really like this stuff, what we're talking about here. Okay, the 27th. So we could do this. You want to do it Sunday the 4th, or do you want to do it Sunday the 11th? Huh?
The 11th. Let's make it the 11th.
The 11th? Okay.
Yes.
All right. So Sunday the 11th, we'll be broadcasting again about this. And in the meantime, you know, check it out. We'll put a way to contact if you have any interest on this. Okay. So strength and honor to you, my brother.
Strength and honor. Strength and honor. Thank you for the opportunity.
Absolutely. See you soon.